Welcome to the AQA YouTube channel. To navigate through the video, you can select specific chapters or subjects of the video. Enjoy watching and remember to subscribe.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's presentation of Traralgon and surrounding areas that Gerard Jarvis has kindly put his hand up to do for us. So, Gerard, I'm going to share the screen, spotlight you, and you can start sharing the screen. Thank you.
Just wanted to add, so this is part 2 of Gerard's presentation. So previously Gerard just showed some day trips and some touristy places that people want to visit while in the area.
Yeah. I could put themselves on mute too, sorry.
I hope you can see the screen okay. Is that yes?
Yes.
Thumbs up?
Yeah. Yeah, so this is really, as Nels was saying, a continuation of last week. And I've based this all about road trips. If you come to Gippsland, you'll often go for a road trip. And I've tried to do it as a family-orientated road trip too, not necessarily like just yourself if you're into driving. So let's see if I can get this to work. Of course, I did have a few questions from last time, which I won't run through today, but hopefully you could answer them all for those that were here last time, and especially why our fish hooks are too small. And of course, if you remember, our worms down this way are quite large, over like up to 3 meters in length. So the first trip I'd like to take you on is to Walhalla. Walhalla is one of my favourite places. A lot of the times I went to Walhalla was BC. That's before chair. I used to do a lot of mountain bike riding, and I'd love to go out to Walhalla and just spend the whole day out there riding through the bush. It's only about 43 minutes away, and if you know anything about Walhalla, there's a lot of history about Walhalla.
It looks picturesque, doesn't it? And it is picturesque. But it's hard to believe that the Sleepy Hollow once throbbed with life, and that the street was crowded almost 24 hours a day. This is old Walhalla in Victoria, an old gold town. The band used to play here, martial music echoing down the valley. But the musical instruments have been quiet for years, as quiet as the empty streets, where now only a few tourists roam, as quiet as the abandoned shops. This was the fire station. It had its big night on November 24th, 1888. A candle was left burning on the table in the drapery store, so they wheeled out the old manual fire cart. The entire business section of the town was burned up, but soon recovered. Old stone houses still remain on the outskirts of town, but the people who lived in them moved out. All lie here, in the graveyard on the steep slopes above the town. James Yarra lies here, the first man to bring in a team overland from Melbourne. This used to crush the rock in the gold rush days, when the miners were extracting rich loads of ore. And when the gold was taken out, it went into the vault of the Bank of Victoria. 6,000 ounces a week went in here back in the 60s and 70s, and was only taken out to be sent to Melbourne. The first gold escort, back in 1866, took 4,600 ounces to the capital. Sub-Inspector Brooke Smith was in charge of the escort. Oh, they were roaring gay days then. There was gold in the hills, and in Stringer's Creek, which flows through the town. In fact, Walhalla was first called Stringer's Creek after Edward Stringer, who found gold here, and received a reward of £100 for his discovery. You can still pan for gold if you care to, but the big nuggets have all gone, and with them, the life has gone from old Walhalla. A century after the discovery of gold here, the old town of Walhalla has become a ghost town.
I'm not sure how many of you have been to Walhalla. I'm going to assume not many. It's a lovely little town now, a lot of restored homes. But the main attraction that is happening in Walhalla now is actually the train, and how they've restored the train. These are just a couple of old shots, and you'll notice how there's no trees on the hills. The trees were stripped barren because they needed the timber either for heating, for the boilers, or for in the mine for propping up all their work. And of course, that caused other issues as well. Walhalla did flood down the main street because when it rained, and when it did rain heavy, there was no trees or vegetation to hold the water back. So it just really wiped the town out. The one in the lower right corner is from the fire from the drapery store. When it spread so quickly because the houses were so packed together. And if you needed things brought in, it was by bullock team brought in. This is a shot of one of the mines, and you'll see all the logs lined up ready for the boilers to be used. And if we go to this one of the tours at the moment is the long tunnel mine you can go into. And I've had a friend who said that you can actually get a wheelchair in there, and she's actually done the tour into the mine itself. So I haven't tried it, but I'm very keen to actually give it a go to see if it's really wheelchair accessible and what it's like. So if I ever get around to doing the wheelchair thing in the long tunnel mine, I'll let you know if it's quite accessible or not. But we're talking about the steam train and how they've actually resurrected the train itself. And it's really a big attraction now to go. And if you haven't been to the steam train, strongly recommend coming down for a day trip or weekend for the train. Unfortunately, they don't have a steam train running all the time. They have a diesel locomotive, which is supplied by the old Yallourn power station. But it's a great trip. They assure me that they do have a ramp for wheelchairs to get up into the carriages. But I haven't tried that yet because, as I said, I haven't been out there for a while. But I'm sure I've paid for at least one of those carriages for the amount of times I've caught the train. Because often when I'd ride my bike, I'd ride to the station through the bush. I'd catch the train to support the guys in their effort. But to get into Walhalla from Thomson Station, it's uphill. So all the hard work was really done. So I'd catch a train into Walhalla and then ride to the end of Walhalla and then ride back out to the station through the bush. It was always a great day. And this is just a bit of the scenery that you'll see along the track and what happens. But I'd strongly recommend bring the grandkids down or the family. It's a nice day. You'll see Stringers Creek, where the gold was found, that prompted everyone to go up further in. And it's really quite a good effort of what they did do. They do have a website. So before you come, if you're ever going to book in, for some reason I've clicked on too many. It's well worth checking out the website because occasionally they're up for repairs. But it is just a really nice, to me, it's a really nice time out. Whether it's raining, a bit misty, it can be a lovely time. Even to stroll around Walhalla into the graveyard. The graveyard's really nice because there's lots of stories to see how they were buried. Reading some of the cemeteries, the headstones is a really nice thing to do. This is where I used to ride to. It's called Poverty Point Bridge. This is about 5 k's up the river from the station. You'd ride up one side, quite wide tracks, and you'd ride across the bridge and back down the other side on what they call single track. But that was built in about the 1800s. So it was a really nice piece of history to follow. So our next road trip is off to the wineries. And I know everyone likes a winery. And I'll let Naz talk about this one. This is the Narcoogee winery. And as a part of Gippsland Group, I've always tried to make things different.
The 11th of March saw us have our first face-to-face community network meeting in
This is a little video we put together, Gerard, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a good one.
Was because of the COVID-19 pandemic. The group couldn't wait for the day that we could meet in person again. Being an opportunity to celebrate, we decided to meet at Marcuji Winery Glengarry, which is near Traralgon. Just like many other wineries, Marcuji is located in a picturesque location, surrounded partly by a hilly and forested national park. The day started with hellos and general chit-chat and finding out what each other had been up to. It was great to see some old faces and welcome some new people to the group. Lunch was fantastic with a good choice of entrees, mains and desserts. The menu also had suggested wines to go with each meal. After lunch, we were spoiled with a VIP tour of the wine production facility. It was great to see the process from picking the grapes from the wines to seeing how the grapes were compacted for the juice to seeing the vats where the wines were distilled. After the tour, the group continued to talk about other subjects like travel, transport, equipment, wheelchairs, and power add-ons. Special mention must go to Gerard, who organised the tour,
Thanks,
as
Naz.
well as the tour. Gerard also organised a grant for the winery to get a ramp installed. Overall, it was a great day to come together again, and as always, we welcome others to join the group.
But there are, of course, other wineries in the area, but at least this one, it's nice and flat. It's very accessible. And as Naz will say, the wine and the food's pretty good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I just want to add there, Gerard. So the entrance there had a little step to it. And I know, you've been to this place before. I think you used to know the owner. And before we went there, you applied for a grant because the place needed like a little ramp, which you got a grant for and got installed.
Yeah,
which was fantastic. You know, I mean, that's the stuff we need to look out for. If we see that a premises needs like something little to make more accessible, you know, we can see what we can do about it, or let them know. They probably didn't even know.
No, they weren't really aware of it. But it does make it so much easier now for everybody to get in. Because as we know, able-bodied people, they'll just step up and not even think about a step. It's nothing to them, because when we first rang up, we asked if there was a step. Oh, no, you're right, you can just come in. But it was about a 4 or 5 inch step to get inside. So, but that was all right. I didn't mind. The owner gave me a bottle of wine, so it was pretty good. So that was all right. So anyway, road trip number 8. As I was saying earlier, I've always tried to make the Gippsland group a bit different and go different places. We have visited the Gippsland Art Gallery at Sale. Sale is reasonably flat along the waterways. A nice place to go and roll around. The shopping centre, not so much because there's a lot of old shops and it's a bit hard to move through the town as easily. But it does have some nice boardwalks along the river. It's very nice and scenic to look at. Portside, great food, very accessible. Toilets are really good. And it's only about a second away from the art gallery. Oh, that finished quick. We had a guided tour through their art gallery, which was really nice. They showed us through. To get down to the water from the art gallery, there's a lift. So it's very easy to get around. If you're into looking at art, it's well worth going. And of course, they've just had the Archibald Prize. I don't know if any of you are into art. I was hoping to do a trip with the group to the Archibald, but because of COVID, we couldn't go. I know there's a retrospective of the Archibald, I can't remember if it's Bendigo or Ballarat, happening at the moment, if you're into art. And of course, that's what I used to teach, so I've always tried to do something around that. Very controversial, but it's well worth immersing yourself in the Archibald Prize, because there's lots of different sections. They have the Bald Archie, the Archibald Prize, the Hanger Room Prize, Packers Room Prize. So there's a fair bit. And some of the artwork's pretty amazing. And some of it, as you would know, looks like kindergarten work, but we won't go there, as many of it is. Of course, keeping on the gallery scene, we've also been to the Morwell Art Gallery as a group, and we had a very good tour of behind the scenes in an art gallery and what really happens, how they store their artwork, how they display it, and just how the art gallery works. And that was a very good day, which we had. Again, the Morwell Art Gallery is just a small gallery, but it does have a very nice restaurant, very accessible. Again, if there's food, I'll go. So, well worth going. Very modern style in the art gallery. Unfortunately, it's very healthy food there, so I'm sure some of you will enjoy it. Now, keeping on the road trips, number 10. Now, number 10's really just a country drive. It's very nice. It does say an hour and 19 minutes, but I wouldn't trust the times because it's, yeah, country roads. Along here on the way up to Locomotive is Lake Glenmaggie. It's basically for irrigation around Hayfield. But a lot of people use it for boating, skiing, powerboat racing, fishing. Oh, and there's a couple of caravan parks, and I don't think they're very good and accessible. I haven't found a good one on Lake Glenmaggie itself. It's not far out of Hayfield. Further up the road, as you follow the McAllister River up to Locomotive, there are 2 campgrounds if you're into camping. There's Paradise Valley and Montana. I've never been to Montana. Paradise Valley is very nice. It does have a small accessible toilet facility, but getting into it is really quite interesting because what happens is you come in on this high ridge and you look down onto this campground. So it's very quite picturesque in what you see. But on arriving up to Locomotive, there's not much there. There is a campground. He assures me they have an accessible shower and toilet. But when I asked him about, is there a shower chair? And he goes, oh yes, there is a chair to put your clothes on when you're in the shower. And I said, no, is there one to sit on? But I don't think he really understood. It's a really nice little town. As I was saying, it follows the McAllister River all the way up. And there is also a lot what they call a Lions Village there. And they have camps for underprivileged, disabled children and others. And it would be interesting to see if we could run a camp for disabled groups and their families at Locomotive. I think I might be going a bit quick. We're nearly at the end. Road trip number 11. This is back to the country that I've sort of grown up in and loved and four-wheel drived in a fair bit. And I know this is where it's been in the paper a little bit lately, for those who've been following the news about the Wanangata murders. So I thought I'd take you up and just show you a little bit around Howard Hut and a bit higher and what is there. I know I mentioned to Robert last week, I've got some ideas for camping. This is one of them. This is up at the top one up here is Shaw's Creek, a great spot for a camp. Kelly's hut's just below, and that'll be Robert crossing the creek in his car, but I don't know where Robert's gone. Is he still here? Oh no, he's off. So you'll miss that joke. Okay. Oh, he's there. So yeah, so this is just the type of country that is up there. And as I was saying to Georgina earlier, that a lot of us don't really look in our backyard. We tend to head everywhere else but our backyard. So we're going to go and visit Guy's hut and Howard Hut. Guy's hut's the lower one on the right, and Guy's hut's the one on the left. The track's really nice, but it's more the scenery that you need to look for and look out for, and where you go. It's really just a dirt road. If you come up, you know, maybe not Naz's Holden you'd come up in, or if you don't mind it getting a little bit muddy, that's okay. Some of the lookouts would be accessible for us, some of them not so much to get close to. But it is lovely country, and you'll see very shortly.
That is wild.
This would be just a little push from the car to have a look at the countryside at the moment.
We are on our way to show you Howard Hut. It has a mystery that has never been solved. Wanangata Station was established in 1860 by Oliver Smith. He built the homestead and created the station. It was later sold to the Bryce family. These huts were built in the early 1900s so that they could graze the cattle up in the high plains in the summer months before driving them back down to the valley for the winter months. Back to the mystery. In 1917, Jim Barclay was found murdered near the homestead. He was buried in a shallow grave on Conglomerate Creek. When he was found, they noticed that he was face down and had a boot lodged between his upper thighs for some strange reason. To add to the mystery, some 10 months later, John Bamford was found murdered, shot in the head, and hidden up at Howard Hut under some logs. He was the station cook. Both of these murders have never been solved. Although there's plenty of theories, they've never worked it out. Just recently, there's been a few more mysteries. Last year, Russell Hill and Carol Clay were camped in the Warrangata Valley, not far from the homestead site. They have both gone missing and they have not been found to date. Their camp was left there, their tent burned, their vehicle still there, and they haven't found a trace of them yet. Apart from all the mysteries, Howard Hut is located in a super scenic part of the world. All natural plains.
Because the idea behind the cattlemen's huts were built for cattlemen to live up there during the summer months. They drive their cattle up from the lower plains up into the high country because of the grass and the quality. So they'd stay in these huts for quite a few months. As soon as the snow would start, or just before the snow would start, they'd drive their cattle off the high country back into the lower areas, either down into Warrangata or down past Locomotive. And the cattlemen would just live up here for months on end, looking after the cattle. When men were men and could do these sort of things. And of course, it can snow any time up in the high country, even in the middle of summer, if you're not careful. So if you ever go up, you do need to take clothes that would cater for all types of weather. This is Guy's hut. Unfortunately, we would not be able to get to Guy's hut. But always just next to a little creek, so they always had fresh water.
Like a winter wonderland.
These are great videos, Gerard.
Still on the water.
Wonder later on you're going to give us the links to these videos if they're online.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that way, because like some of this we can probably cut a little bit short, and if people want to watch the end of it, because I'll want to go over these myself later on, and we'll put all of these links to the videos when we post this actual video.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that.
It's just like all this sort of stuff I love, but just scared about how I'm going to get there and if I'm going to get stuck and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So some of it I understand, like some places you couldn't get to, but some of them would be, not too bad.
Yeah.
We could always work on the camp.
Yeah, that's
camping
right,
to the
yeah.
high country.
Guy's hut, 1939. Nice, isn't it? A little bit like me.
I have slept in Howard Hut before, and of course the bush rats come in at night time and
Lovely stuff.
scuttle around while you're sleeping. So
Is that here?
the other hut, the first hut.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. Not this one.
You got worms, you got rats, you got snakes. I mean,
Yeah, we have everything down here. Besides great views and loves to
plenty of
drive.
great views.
and wineries. But I get amazed how they just come up there and live, and that was the life that was expected of them.
Mm.
Now today, people wouldn't go up now, be too cold, be too wet. They couldn't have their lattes. So, yeah.
That's right. It was like survival in a way, wasn't it? You know, you had to go there, no luxury. You just had to build a life for yourself and your family.
And they were grateful that they could do it. This is where I used to run my dogs too, up this way with the dog sled. Yeah. So, just to finish off, I've just got a couple of more short clips. One was going back to Guy's Hut. And this is the creek that was running past Guy's Hut, and it's called Conglomerate Creek. And a little bit further around, if you followed Conglomerate Creek, which we could not do now, there's Conglomerate Falls. They fall about 125 metres just off the edge down towards Wanagata Valley, and that's Conglomerate Falls. Of course, if you get it when the water's flowing really nice, it's a lot stronger. And just a little bit further up, there's another set of waterfalls, which we'll come to shortly, which is more cascading down the side. And that's, so all this is just hidden, and it's really, if you know where to go and look at it, you can find some amazing things up in the bush. Now, part of my second last one, this is actually Wanagata Valley. I put this one in purely because you've heard about it because of the murders that have just happened, and of course the murders before. And this valley was just found by people up there one day, and that's when they settled it, right back in the late 1800s. And people would often stop at Wanagata Valley on their way through, from either Dargo through to Mansfield. So there was a bit of a thoroughfare of travellers. But it was a great place to graze cattle. And this is just a bit of a fly around. There's the homesteads down below. Unfortunately, the homesteads were burnt down by some lazy bushwalkers, I think in the late 50s, I think. So they were gone. They were just wiped out. Now this is just a bit of a fly through Wanagata itself. Like how they found it is just quite amazing. And it's just a wide expanse. It does get a lot of campers up there now. It has a hill in there called the Widowmaker. And if you're a four-wheel driver and you're driving, well, they ban people from driving up it now because people would drive up in the wrong gear, push their clutch in manual cars, and as soon as they push their clutch in, they'll be flying backwards at a fast rate of knots. And of course, then they'd roll over and get thrown out or crushed. So this is actually Wanagata Valley itself. They often burn the grass because it's easier to burn the grass and mow it. In the middle, under the cypress trees, there's cemetery, where there are a couple of bodies that are buried legitimately. And it's sort of one of those places, if you can go, it's worth the experience. I'm hoping to head back there one day. And that's the Widowmaker just there, and looking down along the valley.
There's three young girls and a mum who's been buried here. 1873.
Oh, and I think that's the end of my. So unfortunately, we have come to the end of my road trips. If you've got time, that link there, the Wanagata Mystery Part 1 on YouTube, it's a whole story about the Barclay and the first lot of murders that happened. There's 3 parts. It's quite interesting to follow. I've decided not to play it because it'll go on for a while and it's quite lengthy. But I'll send that link out, and you might like to follow it at some stage.
Very good. I mean, that's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I
Of
love
course, they never
mysteries.
found out who did it. They had suspicions, but they could not prove anything. And back then, forensics wasn't really around, so they got away with it. So I hope you enjoyed. I'll stop sharing my screen now. I hope you enjoyed my tour around Gippsland, or the central part of Gippsland anyway. And of course, the screenshot I have at the back is one of my night rides into Walhalla. Which way do I lean? This way. We'd ride in late at night. We'd have, in the middle section there, we'd go there for a roast meal and a couple of drinks. And then we'd ride out when it was pitch black, back out through the bush. So I hope you all enjoyed it.